What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the vlog. I'm out here with my brother today. Today we're gonna be finally putting in the JDM motor into the Subaru, guys. So we've already started out by jacking up the transmission with the transmission jack, and then we've reinstalled our new release bearing and clutch fork. So as you can see, that's all hooked up. It's hooked up to the master. We checked with the clutch to make sure everything works. Make sure this spins so you have free motion. And everything's working good. So the next step, we basically just hooked up the engine right now to the hoist. Now that it's on the hoist, as you can see, we're gonna take it off of the engine stand. Then we're gonna put the flywheel and clutch on the motor. So we'll get into that right now. Let's go. Alrighty, so we got the engine up on the hoist. It's ready to go in. Next step is we gotta clean off this whole rear area, and then we're gonna put on the flywheel, put on the clutch. You're gonna wanna torque these flywheel bolts down to 55 foot-pounds for Subarus, and then the clutch pressure plate bolts to 12 foot-pounds. So we're gonna put you on the tripod, put on our flywheel and clutch. Putting in this new pilot bearing on our flywheel. I got my flywheel resurfaced at Napa. It cost me about 60 bucks to do. And this pilot bearing came with our new ACT clutch. So what you have to do, basically just take this bearing, don't drop it on your flywheel like I just did, and then just put it right in the spot, kind of like so, and kind of press it in just a little bit so where it feels like nice and flat. And then you could take a 5/16, which is a perfect size for the Subaru pilot bearing, and a rubber mallet, and just lightly tap it in. Maybe use the back of the 5/16. So you can really make sure that that thing is nice and flush. There you go. It's pretty buttery, huh? And then, as you guys can see, nice, free spinning pilot bearing. It's in there. Give it another little, tiny little tap. For good luck. She's in. That's how you put in a new pilot bearing. Now we can put the flywheel onto the motor. Alright, so you want to put a little bit of red thread locker on your flywheel bolts just to be safe. So I just kind of put one a little bit in just to hold the flywheel on. The flywheel kind of presses onto your crankshaft, so it's on there good. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of red thread locker on each bolt, tighten them all down by hand, and then we'll show you the next step on how to torque them. Alrighty guys, so we got our flywheel on. I torqued each one of those bolts down to 55 foot-pounds of torque with a little bit of red thread locker, and then I cleaned the flywheel really nice. As you can see, it's really shiny with brake parts cleaner just to make sure everything's really good and clean. Now we just applied some fresh clutch lube, the pink ACT clutch lube. Shout out to the boys at ACT. We just applied that onto the shaft, and then we slid the clutch back and forth on there, all wearing clean gloves. We keep changing our gloves just to make sure everything's nice and clean, and we slid the clutch on there just to make sure everything's good. Now I'm gonna wipe off any excess grease that got on the outside. See right there? You don't want anything like that to happen because it could fling into your clutch and cause slippage issues. So you definitely want to make sure you get all that off. Yeah, you shouldn't have touched it, brother. Now you can't touch the clutch. All right, so don't use that hand. So basically, you just want to be as clean as possible. All right. So here's the alignment tool. And basically what we're gonna do now is see how this side says transmission side on the clutch. So we're gonna slide that in, hold it. Okay, and I'll bring that over. And you can just slide that in on the motor. So now he's sliding it on. Slide the alignment tool all the way in, and then you can let go of the tool. All right. Turn the motor a little bit so you have some light. So as you guys can see, the alignment tool is in, the clutch is on the flywheel, all nice and aligned. Now Austin, you want to hold this? All right, now the next step is going to be putting the pressure plate on top. You want to clean the pressure plate just like you did with the flywheel. So I'll show you me cleaning that right now. All right, so you just want to spray it down with some brake parts cleaner. And get it nice and clean with a rag. This actually has a little layer of, I don't know what it's called. I think it's like zinc or something on top of it. And the reasoning for that is because it will help keep it from rusting when they're shipping you your clutch and flywheel. So you have to wipe this down before you put it on, or else you can get some of that zinc and cause slippage with your clutch. It could cause problems down the line, which you don't want. So now we're good. Now I can basically slap this bad boy on. I'm gonna put it. So now I have to set my torque wrench to 12 foot-pounds to torque down on the clutch, the pressure plate. So as you can see, it's already set to 55 from when I torqued down the flywheel. To adjust it, you just pull back on this knob and then you just turn it down. I'm gonna turn it all the way down to 12 foot-pounds and then I'm gonna torque it down. All right, so 12.1 foot-pounds. I couldn't get it exactly at 12, but this should be fine. Let me grab my 12 and then I'll start torquing these down. So I'm gonna tighten them in a crisscross pattern first. Just start to get them tightened down. So now you guys can hear, if you just heard it click, see, listen. So yeah, we'll do a little click like that, and that's how we know we're at 12. Just keep working your way around, star pattern. I'm even gonna triple check them one more time just to be extra safe. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so everything is torqued down to 12 foot-pounds. Now that everything is dead centered, clutch is sitting in there nicely, you can pull out your alignment tool. Looking good. Approve. All right, so we got the clutch on. We just put in these 2 studs right here. These will help it line up. So these are the 2 studs and the rest are bolts holding the transmission to the motor. So you put these 2 studs in and those studs line up to these 2 holes. That just makes it so it makes it a lot easier getting the trans into the right spot. So now we're basically gonna move the motor over the engine bay and try to drop it in. Let's go. So we got the engine about halfway in. We had to close the garage because there just wasn't enough clearance with this thing. So we didn't have enough lighting to really film, but as you can see, the engine's just in the engine bay, and now we're gonna start lowering it down. And basically what we have to do as we lower it down, we have to get those 2 studs to line up with those 2 bottom holes, right? And then everything will press into place. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna put you on a tripod and slowly lower the engine with the hoist until we can get those 2 studs to line up with the transmission. Let's get it, we're so close. Check it out. So we basically got it in place. We got those 2 studs in, down up in there. It's kind of hard to focus, but right down there, straight down, you can see that stud is in and the same one is in on the other side. So we're pretty close. Now I just kind of have been adjusting the hoist, trying to get the engine to be at like an angle like this, so it just slides on really easily and it's at the same angle as the transmission. We're getting pretty close where we're at right now. As you can see, it's pretty level. So I'm gonna start pushing on the engine from the front and we're gonna try to get it to slide in. We did use the clutch alignment tool, so the clutch is completely centered. This is very important, guys, because if you don't use an alignment tool, you're not sure if your clutch is centered. You could have some serious problems lining it up to the input shaft on the transmission. So we're good there. We should be all solid. We shouldn't have too much problems. So we're just gonna start pushing on it from the front, try to get it to slide on. Let's go. All right, guys, so as you can see, that gap is closed. The motor is mated. We have the 2 bolts holding the studs down low and then a bolt right there and another bolt right there. So basically, to get it on, the trick was it didn't want to mount up perfect with the input shaft, so we slowly turned the crank until it felt like it wanted to slide on. The clutch has to match up the splines with the input shaft splines. So sometimes it's very difficult to get them to mate, but if you turn your crankshaft, it will turn over your clutch. Just do it slowly until you get the splines to mate up, and then it literally slides on like butter. Me and my brother literally just struggled with that for like 2 hours just trying to get those splines to mate up.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, straight out, bro. But yeah, we're getting closer now, so I think next is we're gonna throw back in the starter and then tighten down the rest of the bolts. So we just pulled the hoist out of the way. We lowered it down. We made sure that the motor mounts lined up where they need to be. We still gotta throw those bolts under there. We're gonna do that in a bit once we jack up the car. But as you can see, the motor's fully mated to the transmission. We threw the starter back in and we're good to go. I mean, it's in there. I'm having a little bit of an issue with my clutch at the moment. I'm not sure why it doesn't wanna come back. When I push it all the way in, it doesn't wanna come all the way back to me. I'm not sure what that means. If you guys could let me know in the comments, that would be amazing. But we got the motor in. The next video that you guys will see will be the first startup. Hope you guys liked today's video. Thank you so much for watching. You could click up on this little card if you'd like to see the rest of the series, us pulling this motor, us prepping the whole motor to go in, all the parts that we swapped, everything, and even this install will be part of that playlist. The next video on the playlist will be the first startup. I hope you guys are excited, so make sure you're subscribed. Smash that like button for your boy, show some love, and thank you guys so much for watching. And always remember, what your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. Peace out. Hey, one more thing. Check out yesterday's video. It's even better than this one. Hope you enjoy. Peace out.